Hi again, this is Marlene, astrologer extraordinaire, 28 years. So what I'm going to do here, and I really want to make this a very short clip, ideally just maybe 3-4 minutes. So I'm going to just show you, this is what a chart looks like when I run it, when you give me your birth time to the minute, exact minute, AM, PM. You can't give me an, well, I think it was around 2 o'clock, because I'm just going to tell you more often than not, the exact times are not really that common. So anyway, the way I approach a reading, firstly, is especially if you're somebody that's going to do an hour reading. And here's an example of someone's chart. The first thing I'm going to do is a full analysis of the moon. This person has a moon in Scorpio. He's a Capricorn. And, of course, until I came along, he thought he was just a Capricorn. So when I talk about, well, you're a double Aquarius, no, I'm a Capricorn. Anyway, I'll explain about all of that. So he has a moon in Scorpio. So when you enter the life, your moon sign, basically, I like to say, it's what you have a PhD in. So in other words, that's a given. It's what you came into the life with, full development of, based on a 26,000-year time track, wherever the journeys of your soul may have been, whether here or whatever form it may have taken. That person, for example, is a Scorpio. It's like has a PhD in Scorpio, as I like to say it. Now I'm just going to add one little addendum to that. If it were to happen that that person's sun sign was in Scorpio, or he was a Scorpio rising, or he had Venus, personal planet Venus, or Mars in Scorpio, what would that mean? That would mean technically that he hadn't learned or mastered everything that there was to master or learn about being a Scorpio. So it's a carryover. In other words, then he's here to do more Scorpio work. It's a completion. He didn't learn everything there was to learn about Scorpio material. So now that's not the case, but I just wanted to explain that to you. So now, then we look at the sun sign. The sun sign, well, okay, as you look at the 12 zodiacal signs in a newspaper, as if we can divide 7.1 billion people on the planet, there's only 12 different types. Could you imagine what a boring world this would be? That's not the case. So, but, he's a Capricorn, so somebody would be looking at, oh, I'm a Capricorn, what is that? Well, what I'm looking at is your sun sign, is your current life intention. So in other words, he's a Scorpio first. Now suddenly he enters a life as if for the first time, I'm a Capricorn. So he's a Scorpio burning Capricorn fuel. So he's learning how to be a Capricorn. That doesn't mean he's an expert at Capricorn qualities. Now I'm not going to go into all the qualities of those signages right now. In another time I'm actually going to do an analysis of that particular chart because there's some interesting things about it. That if you're Capricorn or if you have planets in Scorpio or Aquarius or Libra, you're going to hear a little bit about the qualities of what it means to have planets in those signs. So I'm not going to do that now. So we can look at it as like thesis, moon, Scorpio. Antithesis, counterpoint, Capricorn. For the purpose of going to, what is this about? What direction is this going into? What is the time that you were born? And the location, longitude, latitude. Which direction is this heading up to? So usually by the time you're about age 35 to 45, you're pretty much operating in the rising sign material. Now, that person is Libra rising. So, thesis, moon, Scorpio, antithesis, counterpoint, Capricorn, for the purpose of arriving at Libra. and then we look at the Mercury, how does that person think? And now this person's Mercury, his Mercury happens to be in Capricorn as well. Now, it doesn't always happen that way, that, okay, well, I'm an Aries, so I think like an Aries. Because the proximity mathematically of the Sun, Mercury, and Venus, how close they are in their revolutionary path, it's very common. You could be an Aries, you might think like a Pisces. You can be an Aries, you might think like a Taurus. Why? Because that's the planet, the sign right next door to that. So there's a high probability of that. So as an astrologer and 28 years of doing this, I already know the potentialities of where somebody's Mercury might be, or where somebody's Venus might be in connection to their sun sign. So, so this person, his Mercury does happen to be in Capricorn, so he also does think like a Capricorn, which is very serious. I will just give only that one quality about Capricorn for now, but so that's exactly how I approach a reading. And then that would be somebody who's doing an hour. Like I said, I used to do only 90-minute readings for a long time. And, I can go through it pretty quickly in about an hour. And then we're going to look at your Mercury, planet of mine, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what that means. And then your Venus, your personal planets, we call your Venus and your Mars. In a man's chart, your Venus, because that gives me a solid clue as to the type of woman this man is going to be interested in. The qualities that he chooses to be most polarized by, if you will. And so for this gentleman, his Venus is in Aquarius, so he's very much interested in the Aquarian type woman, and his Mars happens to also be in Aquarius as well. So, that's how he most needs to be honored as a man, and those 2 points right there are critical if you're doing any kind of relationship counseling. For me, I would love to see it if psychologists, psychiatrists, even just had a basic astrology 101 course or something, or just even that little snippet of information, because it's so useful in relationship, where each partner, when you know what the person's Venus and Mars is, then you know how they need to be honored and validated in relationship and empowered to make the confidence strong in the relationship, not, pushing the wrong buttons and, let's just say bluntly, pissing them off and disempowering the relationship. If you're a spiritual person, you would be using astrology to empower a relationship and not, do childish, immature things and well, I don't like what he or she did to me, so now, I think I'm going to do this just out of spite or revenge. Well, that's called karma, and you're prolonging your karma, and you're asking to, do I want to, I have some hard angles in this chart. I have some oppositions and some hard squares. So, I'm the one who set up that chart before I came into this incarnation. So do I want to continue to perpetuate that? Do I want to, just because that's scripted in there, that doesn't mean you're going to learn those lessons in just one lifetime. It's a choice. We have free will, so you can choose to be conscious and try to evolve and move forward and start to have an awareness about, usually sometimes as we keep seeing a similar movie, as we call it, play over again and over again, then it's like, hopefully at some point the light switches on, you go, okay, this is looking familiar. I think I've seen this pattern before. God, why do I keep doing this? You know, I need to make some changes. So, you know, do I want to, because basically if you're not going to pay attention to what you've set up, then, you know, it may take you 2 or 3 or 4 lifetimes to learn a primary lesson. And you have to ask yourself, you know, do I want to live to be 35, 45, 50, 60, 70? And I'm still doing this, and I'm really just, you know, doing it out of spite, or I'm playing the martyr role, or I'm not paying attention to my personal growth. That's up to you, you know. Do you want to script that in to your next lifetime because you didn't really complete it? And I have to say, you know, I was a hypnotherapist before I was an astrologer. So I specialized in past life regression. I know. I've taken people to that state, the in-between state, where, you know, I ask the question to every single person, and every single person says, I say, you know, did you accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish? And every single person, every single one without fail, no, I didn't. And 95% of them start crying. I could have done so much more, but I didn't. I could have done so much more. I could have helped so many more people. It was all about money. I was selfish, or whatever it was, or I was a mean person. And I just had this grudge, and I just never get this chip off of my shoulder. And I took it out on everybody around me, or whatever it was. But, you know, you have to make conscious choices. That's up to you. Only you can decide whether you want to live. Do you want to live, you know, 2 or more, 3 or more lifetimes or whatever, to follow up to 50, 70, 80 years in total misery? That's, you might need to take a look at that and decide. So I'm going to leave it at there, because I went longer than I anticipated, but I did, you know, want to talk a little bit about why I don't plan these. I don't have a script. I just, you know, whatever comes to me. And yes, I was a hypnotherapist for some time, so I was able to get some very interesting information from people from previous lives through that. And so the chart is, you know, your prior lives are scripted into that, and you are the one that sets that up before you enter the life in your current form. So I'm basically just a guide, and I have some information that can help you navigate. That's what the chart is all about. So I'm going to close it out right here, and I'm going to pick it up again in maybe a day or two when I go over a little bit more about that person's chart personally. So some of you that are, you know, have any planets in those signs, like I said, Scorpio, Capricorn, Libra, that person has planets in Aquarius as well. And he also has a Jupiter. His Jupiter is in Gemini. That's your personal expansion project. So he's got quite a lot going on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about all of those signages. So if you have planets in any of those signs, or you're a Gemini, or you're a Libra, or you're a Scorpio, or you're a Capricorn, or you're an Aquarius, you may want to stay tuned in and listen to what I have to say about any of those signs. Okay, bye for now. Thank you for listening.